Okay, it's now recording, and now we're going to share my screen again. All right. Assuming it's all working. So, I'm assuming you all got my email today? Everybody? Yes, possibly some of you? Since you made it, that's a good thing. I was actually speaking to Casey Mills this morning. She's one of the students who did the internship up in NSA. She was giving me some things that we might want to touch on that aren't covered in our program. Okay? For instance, C, some basic assembly, stacks and queues, and some more Python, different things that aren't really part of classes. So I figured this would be a good place to do it. Just cover little aspects of it, time to answer questions if we need to. But what do y'all think? That's a good plan? Okay. That way, when the next time you hear the word IDA Pro, you might have a clue what IDA Pro is. Okay? Because like our students don't. I mean, we do now have a reverse engineering class, but if you haven't taken this class, you're kind of lost. All right, so yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing. That's what I put in that email. If there's other topics you would like covered, by all means, please ask. Please ask. Just email me. Say, hey, can you talk about XYZ? Well, hopefully replace the XYZ with a topic. Or ask questions and I can answer them as well. Okay. In cryptography, we just talked about index of coincidence. How many of you have not taken cryptography yet? It should be most of you. Okay. Well, what index of coincidence is, I got this text right here. This is random text I grabbed off the internet. Okay? Well, what I want to know is what language is it in? Do we all know? Well, we know it is, but how do we know it is? Maybe if this is the text file and you wanted to automatically process it with your computer, how does it know it's in English? Well, there's something called the index of coincidence. You all seen Wheel of Fortune? What letters do they give you? N, L, S, T, R, and E? Y'all know that? Okay, you young kids, you ever seen Wheel of Fortune? Okay. Well, so what's the most common letter in the English language? It's actually an E. So index of coincidence is basically how many times letters come up and a mathematical calculation based upon that. So in English, the E is the most common letter. Okay? And if I was to go on, I found this really cool website. Y'all are going to love this. Let me show you real quick. It's cool. It's called Google. It knows everything. Okay. What is frequency distribution? It even knows the question. Okay. Distribution, you got it. What is frequency distribution? Let's see if they show us a nice picture. I want a picture. That's lame. Google, you failed me. Okay, it's the frequency letters up here. Okay. Someone's got to have a good picture on here. Really? Okay, of English. Now let's just look at images. There we go. That's what we want to see. So if I look at this chart, we'll see that the E is the most common letter in the English language. And since it is, we can actually create a mathematical calculation called the index of coincidence, an algorithm, to determine if it's actually English. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, will we write the whole thing today? Probably not. It took me 2 hours to write it yesterday. Over an hour to figure out a stupid mistake I made. Then another 20 minutes to figure out the other stupid mistake I made. Are you serious? I actually typed that. But okay, so what I did was the index of coincidence for English is 0.0667. That's what it just happens to be. But to get that, you need some text from 1972. If you go beyond that in either way, I mean, think about it. This is text from 1972. How many LOLs do you see? How about some BRBs? I mean, the words, our language has changed, so it's not going to be exactly the same anymore. So I just picked this text. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I'd like you all to do. Y'all going to follow along doing this? I picked this room that way we might be able to do it. You don't need to, you can just watch. If you want to follow along, you can. Okay? So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to bring up Python. Python has an interpreter called idle. If you just type the word idle, it should come right to the very top. Okay? I'm not going to take time to correct all your errors, so kind of stick with me if you can. If you can't, then just watch the excitement. Okay. All right, so now inside here, I want to actually make a script to do this, because this is what's called the interpreter. I can say 2 plus 2, and it tells me it's 4. I can say x equals 5, then I can ask it what x is, and it tells me. It's interpreting my commands one at a time, okay? But I want to make something that I can use later, a file that I can run another time and take with me and all this other stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, make a new file. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save mine on my desktop, maybe in a folder called Cyber Club. I'm going to call this IoC 2 because I already have a regular IoC. You can call it whatever you want. Doesn't matter as much in Python as it does in Java. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make mine so it's not full screen. What I'm going to do in here is I want to open a file, but to do that we need a file. So we need a file inside here, wherever on your desktop, in the same directory as where you saved it. See, I saved IoC2 right there. In the same directory, whether it's on your desktop or in your My Documents, I don't care where you did it, in the same directory, if you right-hand click and say New Text Document, you'll get a new text document, okay? Just call it, I don't know, IOC text.txt, okay? So IOC.txt. So this is the text we're going to use. And let's just, you're going to need to put a sentence in here. Let's go with, pick something. Let's copy this sentence. I know you guys can't copy it, so you're going to type it, but I'll put it in here so you can see it. Type in that sentence. Okay? I'll give you 18.5 seconds. On the other hand, the senator from Maine has some obvious handicaps. Okay? That's just the sentence out of that text. Is it going to give us a correct count? Probably not, because it's not very long. But at least give us something to start with. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Now I'm going to make sure it actually did it. So I closed it. Now I'm going to open it again, make sure it's really there, and it is. Okay. Now inside of our Python, what we want to do is we're going to open that file up. Here's how you do it in Python. hfile equals open. Okay. Don't worry about the exact command. Just type what I type. So I'm going to say hfile. I'm going to say open. Now I need to give it the actual file name. Since I'm running it from the same directory, I'm going to put IOC text.txt. What that is going to do is it's going to open up that file. Okay? Now in Python, Python is not a compiled language. It's not like C or C++ or Visual Basic or even Java. You don't compile it and then run it. You actually run it. You actually, it's called what's called an interpreted language. So in Python, a couple different ways to run it. You could click on run, then run module, or you can just hit F5. Let's say you want to save it, sure. And it ran. Okay? What did it do? Anybody? What it should have done is it should have popped open my Python shell and it should have ran my code. And what did it do? We see nothing on the screen, but did it really do nothing? It actually opened the file, but we didn't tell it to do anything with the file. Okay? Well, what happens if I just type H file? Okay? I just typed in the interpreter H file, because I want to make sure it really did something. Okay? I'm trying to make this so you guys can see it easier. So I just type H file, and it says, hey, you got an IO, and then the input output, we got a text, the wrapper name. The file is called IoC text.txt. The mode is R, which would be, anybody? Read only. And there's the character encoding on it. That's not critical at this point. So now at least we know it did something. Because H file has a value. So this code I wrote actually did something. Okay. Now, in Python, we can read this stuff in. Let's read it in with, how am I do this? Hold on. Let's type this command, for line in H file, file dot read lines, spell read lines correctly. So what I told it there was, for each line in that file, or in H file, dot read line. So we're going to open that file. For each line in that file that's open, we're going to read the line. Then we're going to print it. So I'm going to hit F5. Oh, looky there. Doesn't it kind of look like the file we just did? On the other hand, the senator from Maine has some handicaps, obvious handicaps. So now at least we know our code is doing something. Now I want you to notice one thing. I'm writing something and then I'm compiling it. Is that important? Or running it? It's so much better than writing all this code and then running it and getting 85 errors. The funny thing was, on my actual code I wrote yesterday, guess which line had the error that cost me the 1 hour to fix? Line 2. My line 2 is different from this one, but line 2 is where I screwed up. I'm like, are you serious? I did that, okay? So we're able to do that, okay? Now, what we have now is we have a line of text and displayed the text on the screen. But let me explain what index of coincidence does. Don't type this. To do the index of coincidence, we need to know the number of A's times the number, where's the number of A's minus 1. So in other words, I need to count up all the A's. I need to multiply that by all the A's minus 1. So if I have 6 A's total, I'll be doing 6 times what? A minus 1. So it'll be 6 times 5. So I'd get 30. Okay? So that's one of our tasks. But let's see. All right, let's look at our code. Or actually, I'm just going to up the file to be easier to see. We have an uppercase O, and over here we have a lowercase o. Here we have an uppercase S, and over here we have a lowercase s. You see the difference there? Think that'll matter? Well, for index of coincidence, an S is an S. So we need to fix this, because when we're writing this code, we need to fix that, okay? So how can I fix this? Well, if I go, where is my code? My code is right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say line equals line dot upper. So I added that before I printed it. What that did is, so for each line in this file that we're reading, convert it to uppercase. So now I'm going to see what it does. Check it out. So that solved that problem. Yes. Now, for those of you, is anyone here in that class right now? Couple of you? This is a great example for you guys then. And if you're not, keep it, because you can actually use writing programs. Trust me, it'll make your homework so much easier. And you can use them in some other places, but okay. So we got that. So we made them uppercase. Now what we need to do is we need to store all these somewhere. How are we going to count up all the A's? How would you all do that? How would we count the A's? Anybody? Well, you can just count, but really,
on the program,
right?
Import counter.
Right. We want something to count down. I mean, we could sit here and say, okay, we got 1 O, we got 2, we got 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. I got 7 of them.
Now, how many S's do you have go?
But you agree with 7 O's? How many? What if this thing was, the assignment is huge? Was it like 40,000 characters long? What's the odds you actually do it correctly? Now, there is an easier way to do it. I'm going to show you how. I can actually open this in Word. I actually open it in Word, and I can take it. Where the heck is it? It's this one. I can paste it into Word. And I can go find. And I want to find the number of O's. That's 7 of them. Pretty simple, huh? How many A's we got? 6. How many S's we got? 5. So this would be pretty simple to do our homework, wouldn't it? But see, some of you know Roy. But whenever Roy does something, if he has to do something, see, here's Ken. If Ken's going to do something one time, I just do it. If I have to do it a bunch of times, I'm probably going to write a program to do it. Roy, on the other hand, if he's going to do it one time, he writes a program to do it. Just because he might need to do it again. Which is kind of a good way to go about it. So we can sit here and I can get my little calculator out and I can type A. Okay, I got 6. I type B. I can get down to Z and I got no Z's. So I can record all this. And then I can type, so how many A's do we have? Okay, we had 6. So then I'm going to do 6 times 5. That'll be 30. Let's see how I make a math error somewhere along the way. Pretty darn good. So if you do it with a computer, guess what? It ain't going to make a math error. Now, it might make a logic error based on stupid programming. But I showed you an easy way to do that at least. Okay? So now let's continue on to our code here. All right. So we need to count up the number of A's. So we need to store that value somewhere. Now, Roy did his in a lot less lines than I did, but I kind of need to make, I want to make it easier for you to understand.
Can I just paste my code to chat?
No. Because I was actually showing my class today part of my code. I said, how many can understand this? And there was nobody. Because part of it's quite confusing, and I didn't provide comments, so it didn't explain it very well. Okay? So now, in here we need to store this. Well, normally if I was using Java or something, I want to store it in something called an array. Think an array as a collection of things. So maybe I can store the number of A's in one box, a number of B's in another box, a number of C's in another box. Sound like a plan? Okay. Well, that's called a list in Python. So I'm going to make a list called letters. So what this does, this creates me a list. It's letters equals square brackets. It's pretty simple to do. Now, I'm going to run my code again to make sure my code works. It does. But I want to check something real quick. Okay. I want to check something else. Don't follow me yet. Don't follow me. I know you're trying to. Okay, don't follow me. Okay. I would just want to see what something did. Well, actually, this might actually work. Okay. So we're going to try this, and if it doesn't work, we can go back and fix it in a minute. So there's other variables I need, but we're not going to get there yet. So we got our thing in. So we're reading our file. Now, inside here, so I'm going to get rid of this print line thing. We don't need that right now. We'll look at that in a minute. So I've converted it to upper. Okay. So once it's uppercased, now I need to convert it. So I'm going to make another list. In this case, I'm going to just call it let. But let, I'm just call it something short. Let equals list of the line. Okay. We'll see why here in a second. Okay. Let's run this one. Okay. Now I want to see let, it's short for letters. I can type it. Okay. Now you see I got a period. Y'all see that? Why? I don't know why. Well, what I did was I told it for each character in my list, create a new list called let. That's what the list command does. But the list is made up of the elements in the line. Okay. Well, my thing didn't work so well. So what I need to do is I need to change this up here. Don't do this right here. We need to change that a little. And we're going to change this. We're going to add another loop. I wasn't sure if it would work. Problem is, it works in one language, doesn't work in the next. So it drives me crazy. So up here, I want you to type 4, x in range 0, 26. Then we're going to do letters, append. We're going to put in a 0. Let me explain what that does. A for loop, it's basically something that can repeat so many times. Okay? In this case, it's going to start at 0 and continue until 25, less than 25. So it's actually going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 25, and then quit. And what's it going to do each time? It's going to keep adding a new element of the value 0 to my list of letters. So let's run this, see what we get. Okay.
Just as a heads up, if it helps anybody, all the code that he's putting up on the board, I'm effectively pasting in chat.
Okay. So now I'm going to type letters, and now you'll see rather than just a single item, I actually have 26 of them. So what I did in my code right here was I created my list to store my letters. Okay. But then I also created, I appended to that list a 0. In other words, I initialized them all to 0. And that's actually where one of my problems was yesterday, but that's not that big a deal. Okay. Now, so let's go down to, actually that one might have worked, but we're going to forget about that one for now. Right after here now, let's go down. So for each element we get, okay. So remember, we read in, for each line that we read in from our file, we're going to convert it to uppercase, and we're going to convert it to a letter. Now, let's do this one, and let me make sure I do it right. Okay, I'm going to type 4, x in range 0, comma, length of let. I'll explain what that does. And I'm missing a parenthesis. Okay, so imagine as I read in my text file, right here, I got in the line from the text file, I converted it to uppercase, and now I process the line, and for each line I process, I want to do something with it. Because remember, I got the lines in, but now I need to go through the lines and get each character out of it. Okay, this will make sense in a minute. Okay, now I got that one done, and there's something Roy's missing. How can I just want to try this. Print. Let's print let. I'm just using this to see what my values are. We're going to change that in a second. Okay. Is that my only print line? Okay, yeah. I want to make sure that's really working. Hold on, I don't really trust this. That's the wrong character. That's because this is not Java, this is Python. Okay, good. So it is working. A lot of times when I'm writing my code, I'll do things like this so I can make sure it's actually doing what I want. So what this did was, we read in the line, converted it to uppercase, and then took each of the elements in it and made a separate list out of it. But then here we're saying for each item in that new list we just made right here, because it reads in the line. Maybe one line only has a few characters. Ours just all happens to be on one line. But my original file had a bunch of different lines, so each line could have a different number of characters. Think of it like when you're reading a book, the paragraphs are different length, okay? So this here is saying, go through the entire paragraph or the entire group of text and do something with it. And I just wanted to make sure it was working, so I did print X. Now I printed out what was in the letter array, the short LET. We're going to use that one in a minute. And then X is what's called the element, because this starts at 0, then goes to 1, then goes to 2, and then goes to 3, and so on and so forth. So I want to run this one more time. I just want to see what is the length of let. Seriously, it's 1. Is the period on a separate line? No, it isn't. You shouldn't have done that. But it'll still work anyway. But all right, just follow along. We're going to get this. Now, and when I did this down here, this whole number of A's times the number of A's minus 1. Well, when looking at this text here, you see how I'm getting any problems? Well, if I'm going to calculate the number of A's times the number of A's minus 1, plus the number of B's times the number of B's, plus the number of C's, and so on and so forth, what do I do about spaces? What do I do about periods? Or commas? Or double quotes? Or anything like that? I only want the letters. So what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to only get the letters, okay? And one way we can do that, I want to just type something here just so you can see what it is. So I can print out X equals A. So it's assign the value of an A to X, okay? If I print out X, you see I get the letter A. Okay, everyone with me? But I can also look at the ordinal value of X. Give me 65. Don't have a clue what that means, other than Roy. Well, I'm going to show you. The easiest way to show you is a program called TextPad, because it's built into it. TextPad, if I open up the clip library, up here on the left side, you see all these stuff, okay? You see like the letter A right there is 65. That's what's called the ASCII value, okay? So let's look at the letter 0, or the character 0. So you would think 0 would be 0, wouldn't you? But 0 is actually 48. Because we have the numeric 0 and also a character 0. See the difference? Well, with an A, see what ASCII is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. It's a way of displaying letters and characters, everything that's printable. There's also EBCDIC, and there's a bunch of other ones. But you see, it starts at 0. I don't know why this one's not showing 0. And it goes up to 255. Yeah, it starts at 33. That's weird. I don't know why this one does. But so, yeah, it could be that it's non-viewable on the screen. Not all of them are printable. I want to find a character. Where's 34? Where the heck is it? Okay, there is. I can't find it. And you'll notice that uppercase A was 65 and lowercase a is 97. So they're different. That's why I made them all the same case. So if I want to work with, I'm trying to look for a character and I can't find it. Now, let me ask Google. ASCII chart. Show me the pictures of an ASCII chart. Okay, an ASCII chart. Now let's view the image. That's not going to show them either. That's not a complete one. Seriously? Well, how do I go back? Okay. That's not the one I want. The complete one. Is this the complete one? There we go. There's a complete. I lost it. There it is. Okay. It's like 0 is null. 1 is the start of the heading. 2 is text. Beginning of text. So on and so forth. we really can't, like, number 7 is the bell. Obviously, we can't see a bell. Okay? But like when I was in the military, I had to create a form. A form that we used in the, I'm not showing. Here they go. Picture a form that has a bunch of boxes on it. Well, I actually created one on a computer. And I did it by using these characters here. Like I say here, my 201. That's that. But I basically used it to draw the box. Man, it took forever to create an entire Air Force form with, but it was amazing. What it was, they had to fill out this form, but I made a computer do it all, and I actually generated the form with the data in it, all by using ASCII characters. It took forever, but it worked beautifully. Okay? So let's continue on. So if we want to make sure that we're only working with letters, and if we know that an A is a 65, could we check the value of A? Or check the value of the letter to see if it's a 65 or more? Okay? In this case, wherever my code is, right here, I'm going to say if, now we do that with ORD. Actually, I need to indent that as well. If ORD of my small list there, of each element in it, okay, is greater than 64. So what I told it was, because remember this here just prints out the letter. So that's what's the letter right there. So I checked if the ordinal value, see in Java you just use int, the integer of the character. But here you use ORD. Okay, so if the ordinal value of whatever this character is greater than 64, and the ordinal value of this letter is less than 91, should that give me just letters? So what am I end up with? 65 through less than 90. So it'll be 65 through 90. So there's 65 is an A, and 90 is a Z. So if I did that, now when I run this now, see last time I ran it, didn't I get like an exclamation point or a period or something at the end? Yeah, I got a period at the end, see that? Let's run it now. Oh, I gotta indent it. I didn't indent it. Indent that, indent that.
Me too.
Okay, now you see the difference? Now all my spaces are gone, all my commas are gone, all my periods are gone. So now I'm just working with the actual letters. Now you can write a regular expression to do this, but we're not covering those today. Okay. It's way beyond what we're doing today. So you could probably write this whole thing, including reading in the file and everything, in about, what, 5-6 lines of code maybe?
I didn't count.
Yeah. Okay.
Not very many.
Yeah, not very many. Okay. So we checked that. Now, why did I do all this stuff? Why do I want to know? Okay. First of all, what is an A again? What's the ordinal value of an A? Okay. So if I want to make a container, so I got my, I want a container. I don't want to write in that one. Do I have another one open? So I have a container here that stores A's, and a container that stores B's, and a container that stores, I want to fill these with something. Well, in Java, they're called arrays. In Python, they're called lists, but they're the same thing. It's a container. The containers are numbered. The elements of the container are numbered. Like that's a 0, that's a 1, that's a 2, and so on and so forth. So I want A's to be stored at 0. I want the number of A's to be stored in 0. Everybody with me? And the number of B's to be stored in 1. The number of C's to be stored in 2, and so on and so forth. That's just my logic. You literally could make a separate variable to hold each one. But if I did that, then I need 26 variables. I would need to know letter A, letter B, and that's just a lot of work, okay? So if I'm going to do this, So we know we can determine what the value, the ordinal value of the letter is. So let's pretend I just got an A. Okay, don't type this code yet. Say I just got an A. We know at this point an A is equal to a 65. Okay? Well, if I want to store it in letters 0, every time I see a letter that's an A, I want to increment 0. You agree with me? Okay. Well, so I'm checking if it comes through and it's a 65, I need to increment 0. So how could I possibly do that? Anybody got an idea other than Roy? Well, what if I do this? Watch. Remember that array, that list we made at the top called letters? Remember this one? We got this. We're not doing anything with it at this point. What if right here, what if I say letters, just for the sake of argument, let's just set it to 0 at this point. Letters 0, that's the first element. Okay? Plus plus. Okay? I'm just doing this just to see what it does. And I'm going to comment these two out for a second. So what I'm telling you is, if it's between an A and a Z, increment, this is how you increment in Python. You also increment in C, in Java, and nearly every language. Not Visual Basic. So I'm going to run this. I don't have a syntax error. Seriously? Oh, that's right. I can't do plus plus. Forget that. My bad. It's plus equals. Plus equals 1. So it ran. So you need plus equals 1. So I want to see what's in there. I want to look at letters, and you'll see the 0 position has 56 in it. So every time it saw a letter, between A and Z, it just incremented the 0 position. Y'all agree with that code right there? So every time it saw a letter between A and Z, it just incremented the 0 position. So if I was to go back to that text file and count the number of letters, how many letters should there be? There should be 56. So we know it's partially working. When I write programs, it's a good idea to make incremental progress. You know, okay, it's doing something. Now I want to make it a little better. Okay, so we know we can write into position 0. So when it's an A, it's going to have the number 65. Okay? How can I convert 65 to 0? If I just subtract 65. So a B is 66. So what do I want B? What do I want B to become? So what should I do to that one? Subtract 65. Okay, a C is 67. I want that to become number 2. Should do what? Subtract 65. So an A will end up being 0, a B will be 1, a C will be 2. You see how I'm doing this? Okay. So what I can do there is I can do the ordinal value of the letters. So we got that, minus 65. So what's going to happen now is we are going to get the letter, get the ordinal or the ASCII value of the letter, so the A just turned into a 65. We're going to subtract 65 from it. So if we got a letter and it was the Z, it would return a 90. Okay, so we did the ordinal value of it. We got a 90. Subtract 65, it ends up being 26. So now when we run it, did it work? Let's find out what's in letters. Is that right? Was there 6 A's? Yes, there was. Was there 0 Z's? So now we have a perfect count of every letter in that file. Now let's just see if this even works. I'm going to take, don't do this, you don't have this file. I'm going to change this. I'm going to comment this part out. Put mine in there just to make sure it's actually working. I don't want this to be a fluke. Now I'm putting a big old long file in there. So now I'm going to run that code. Is that correct? What do you think? That's might not be right.
That's a big old long file now.
Still not right. That's for one paragraph. It's not doing all of it. So still got a slight logic error somewhere, which we'll look at here in a minute. Yeah, there's still something not quite right. So there's something wrong with this loop right there is where the problem is. Okay. But we're not going to worry about that one at the moment. Okay. Well, the problem is it's not created correctly. But actually, you know what? Let's make this so it actually be a large section of something. Let's go find. Everybody, bring up Google. Type in random text from 1972. Let's pick something. Just trying to find something that's easy to get. Can anyone find some random text that's decent? What'd you say?
Like text from 1972.
Oh, okay. Okay, here's an educational amendment. Okay, I do that. Just type in text from 1972, click on
And the first one.
Title 9.
Yes, sir, we're all clear. We're all here for cybersecurity, and yes, we are all 3-year-olds.
Okay, let's pick a different one. I don't want to complain.
Pick a different one. Come on, we were on a roll.
Let's pick the second one. Text of the Marine Mammal Protection Act. Now it's bestiality.
And we've gone downhill.
Okay, go to the third one. The third one, the Kindlindis versus the Menandellas, whatever. Okay, under syllabus, select that paragraph. So select just 2 paragraphs. Okay, just highlight them, Control C them. So I got those 2 paragraphs. Okay, I'm gonna go back and open up this IoC text file and dump it in there. Okay, we all have something like that. You agree? Yes? I'm going to save it now. Run my program, if I can find my program. Now I'm going to run it. Letters. Okay. Probably still not the correct number.
Awful lot of A's.
So that's saying 76 to 80 to 90.
Correct. I mean, the cool thing is, even look at this though. What did I say the most popular letter is? So A, B, C, D, E. Look at that, the most popular letter. So even this paragraph is correct. Okay. So everybody got that, or at least following along somehow, if you feel like it. All right. So we have the number of letters, and now.
So this program calculates how many A's.
Exactly. How many A's, how many B's, how many C's?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Actually, you know, we can modify this. We're not going to have time to write the whole thing. But now that we have all that, I'm going to leave this stuff for there for right now. What if we now said for X in range of 0, comma, length of letters, print. I just want to make sure we're doing it right. It's not where we're going to leave there. I just want to see if this works. Yep. Oh, I'm missing a parenthesis. I knew I was missing something. Okay, it works. Okay. So what I want to print is letters. X. See if that gives me anything. Okay, that gave me the numbers. Okay. So how, see, I don't have a list that already has all this in there. Let's think about this. How can I print out the number of A's is, and then have that number. What if I put the string number of A's, colon space. Okay, this is not done yet. Oh. I shouldn't need a comma. Oh, hold on. I could put a comma here, I think. Let's find out. But there's another way to do it. Okay, that does it. But you can also do this way. Was it STR? So I'm just showing two different ways. Yeah, I can do it either way. Either way works, okay? But it might just be easier for you guys just to put a comma. So when I run this, so is it working?
Well, that's not the number of.
That's correct, the number of A's.
Well, what about the second line? The second line is not the number of A's.
Well, heck.
If only there was a way to fix this. Wink, wink.
Is that possible? You think we could fix
That
this?
would never work.
So what if I do that?
Hey.
Now, hold on. I want, okay, what'd you say? I could, but there's an easier way. Watch this.
I do like easy.
Let's try it just like this first. So now we're saying number of 0, 76, number of 1, 9, number of 2, 29, number of 3, 40. So what if I did that and we did okay, so what do we need to, what's left to fix? So if we can convert an alphabet letter to a number, think we convert a number back to an alphabet?
Yes.
I think we can do that.
I don't know. I'm scared.
So ORD goes one way. So we want to do the opposite. It's called string, STR.
Yes.
But there's going to be a problem.
It will maybe.
Oh, what'd this guy say? Plus 65. Because remember, X a second ago was 0. Right here, 0.
Please do not print on printing characters.
Plus 6. Well, let's try without adding 65, see what we get. It might not be good. It's probably, I should get a bell.
Oh.
Well, remember, 7's a bell. I didn't get a bell.
Well, I mean, you can't actually see a bell.
Well, that just sucks. Okay, why isn't it working? That's actually a good question. So we got a 65 now.
As it sees it as just,
Hold on.
because you have to do the opposite of order.
No? Yeah, the opposite order is string. Isn't it? Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Is it CHR?
I think
It's
that's
called
right.
CHR. That's what it is.
I think-
That's
There
what it
we
was.
go.
Sorry, my bad.
Boom.
That's what you get when you type too many different freaking languages. Okay, so now we have something that's outputting the number of A's, number of B's. So does that help? Okay. It's still not perfect.
It's perfect. It's fantastic.
So if I was to take all this text right here, I'm going to take all of it. I'm going to go into Word, paste it in there. A. 103. So why are we not matching?
Goodbye.
Let's only use the second paragraph. You could just delete the paragraph marker in between.
Or,
Back into Word, hold on.
or,
27. How many am I up with? 73? 76? What the heck is this thing doing then? I don't know what it's doing at this point. Let's take the first paragraph. So we're troubleshooting to figure out what we screwed up.
Something.
76. So it's only using the first paragraph. So now we know. It's ignoring the second paragraph. So if only there was a way to fix this. Well, let's see. I happen to have an actual working code in my hand, so we can figure out what we screwed up. Okay, 4 line. Okay, no, that's right. 4 line in read lines. Oh, fixed. Seriously?
Oh.
103.
Oh. What was that?
Stinking letter. Read lines.
That was on what, line 5 or?
Yeah, see it? No, line 8. That's line 8. Okay. So now we have something that can read it all and create a list called letters and add them all up. So is that helpful? Obviously, that's definitely a good start. Now, so now what we need to do is we take the number of A's times the number of A's minus 1. Could we do that?
Yes.
Okay, do we need to keep the number of A's after we do this calculation? Actually, we do, because in this instance, we also need to count up how many total letters. So what if I create another list? We'll say letters after calculation. Then I can just go down here and go letters after calculation. Then I can get down here after they're all done. Okay, so where did we add them all up? So right here, I could take this one, and if I could say letters after calculation equals what? Letters times letters minus 1. Right there.
Garbage.
So what are we looking for? So if we have 103 times 102, we should get 10,506. So let's run this. Oh, get that equals. Not intended? What the hell's wrong with it? There. Okay, so now we need to know what letters after calc. Where'd it go? What did I do? What the heck did I just do?
Something has went awry.
Something's not right. Hold on. Letters up. Did I spell it wrong or something? Let's run our program again. Make sure it runs. Oh, there it is. I must have typed something wrong. But so is 10,506 the number we're supposed to get?
Yeah.
So now we have, based on our formula here, we now have the number of A's times the number of A's minus 1. Now for the index of coincidence, then we would need to know, then we have to add the number of B's times number of B's minus 1 plus ... You know, like C's and D's and E's and F. So you see how you could get that? And then that would be the numerator to the index of coincidence formula. So we're very close. We are so close. Very close. What now? Exactly. You could very easily sum of the list. Okay. All right. So we're not going to write any more of this, but that should give you a good start. Everybody kind of follow along what I did? I realize you aren't Python experts at this point. None of us are. But you realize what an S can do. One stinking S. Don't you love that? But what I did yesterday that caused my issue was I actually did that. It was actually a list inside of a list. It's a list of lists. It actually runs fine until you get to the ordinal part, the increment part. It's like, oh. So yeah. So. All right. There you go. All right. I'm going to quit writing there, but that is, I'd say you're like in the 90% completion of this assignment now. For crypto. Well, it's not really an assignment, but okay, it's not the assignment, but you have to do a homework assignment for this. This is a program to do the homework assignment. Yes. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to get out of here. So, Roy, you giving these guys all that code?
No, I stopped like partially through, so they'll have to figure out like the number of that part.
I will.
Figure that part
Where'd it
out.
go? Oh,
But I mean, if they realize what the first part of the code is, they should be all right.
I will take this
The
here.
rest of it's very simple.
I'm going to paste that. Maybe. There we go. There's all of my code I just wrote. It's all in the Zoom chat. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's attendance. Now, one question before we go. I have a lot of people say, man, why are you doing it at 2 o'clock? We work. Don't want to do it during the day? You all like during the day? You have evening classes. That's kind of what I figured. This works great for those that have evening classes. But if people work, they obviously can't attend. Someone's too darn bad. Quit their job.
School is hardcore.
Would 3 o'clock work rather than 2 o'clock? He says no.
I'm independent.
Why can't you come at 3? The reason I'm asking is there's a group of people that could come if it was at 3 instead of 2. Could you make 3? No, you got a class?
Is it an hour?
Or so.
Oh, it's real.
Oh, okay. If we moved it to 3, would that work?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, because there's a couple other kids who want to come, but they're in high school and they can't get here at 2. So I'll email everybody for sure, but we all could do 3 o'clock. Okay. So it could potentially go over someday, but not excessive amount. So, all right, you guys are done. I'm going to stop this recording.